What's up, African Fight Fam? It's your boy JB back at it again with another episode of the African Fighters Podcast. And today, ladies and gentlemen, it's your favorite boy from London, England, by the way of Lagos, Nigeria. Oga Ademola, host of the Kingdoms podcast. He is also the president of Israel Adesanya fan club. So you know he had to be on this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Kingdoms. What's up, my brother? How you doing?
Hello, everyone. I'm super excited for today's episode. Super excited, pumped.
Yes, if you are an African, wherever you are in this world, if you are an African, you'll be very ecstatic. Hey, look at me using big words. In Nigeria, ecstatic is a big word. You'll be super pumped, super happy with the situation at UFC 297. I'm talking about what situation? The situation of Dricus still knocks DuPlessis, making history, becoming the first ever South African born UFC champion. I must add, in the most exciting weight class in the UFC for the longest time. Uh Big fight last night, main event in Toronto, Canada. Dricus DuPlessis versus Strickland. A lot of talking points coming out of that fight. But first of all, let me ask my brother Dems. I know you are the president of Israel Adesanya fan club. Keep your
Mhm.
fandom aside. Tell me, what
Okay,
did you feel yesterday when you were watching that fight?
okay. I play many roles in life, right? But then, aside from being the president of Israel Adesanya's fan club, right, I am an objective person, right? because I am a chartered accountant by training, and one of our core values is objectivity. So even if you're faced with a situation where your own interest is on the line, you still have to speak the truth, right? So I am African. I was really proud of what happened. What was it, yesterday or last night? Yeah, last night, right? We're super proud of what Dricus has been able to accomplish, right? And facts are facts, right? Dricus is the only African residing in Africa to be, champion in the UFC, and it's a big accomplishment for him. Kudos to him.
It is really a big accomplishment. There's a lot of conversation around his team, that is the CIT team, and what they've been doing with the kind of guys they are sharpening and bringing out. There's a lot of conversation around that, and we'll get to that. But let's stick to this fight for a minute first. Let's go back and forth now, because there is this aspect where a lot of people were calling robbery. Okay, I have my own reservations with regards to what the score would be and if
Mhm.
it was a robbery or not. But can you tell me, King Dems, in your opinion, was it a robbery?
To be very honest, right, I do not think it was a robbery. So while I was watching the fight, I was actually scoring it, right, and I was watching with a friend. So apparently, I have a weakness for this one. I scored round one in favor of Strickland. However, rounds two, three, four, I scored in favor of Dricus. And then round five was up in the air, but I think Strickland had the advantage in round five. So it was clear for me a 3-2 in favor of Dricus. So when the scorecards were being read and I heard the first one in favor of Strickland, I knew it was quite close, right? So I think was it round three? Round three, you could make an argument to score it in favor of Strickland, right? However, let's remember what the scoring criteria is, right? Damage, right? Aggressiveness, octagon control, right? Are those not like the criteria, right? And then if you score it in terms of that criteria, damage, more damage was done by Dricus in rounds two, three, four. And however, Strickland put up more damage in round five and round one, and fair and square, it was a fight that went in favor of Dricus, even though it was quite a close one. I know there's always this philosophy or mentality where you want the challenger to really beat a champion convincingly. However, we are seeing a trend right now wherein the judges are more objective to score the fight in favor of the challenger, right? Even when the fight is close. A case in point, a very handy example is Pantoja versus Moreno, right? It was a very close fight. However, the judges were objective enough to score it in favor of Pantoja, even though it was quite close. And that is what happened again tonight.
You know, Yeah, we have a group chat, right? And in the group chat, we're talking about the fight going on, talking about the scorecard, and like all of us unanimously, maybe because we are Africans, but all of us unanimously going into the fifth round, we all scored it 3-1 for Dricus, as I feel most people did. And when the fight was over, when it was announced, I was a bit surprised that it was actually a split. I thought Dricus would take a unanimous 3-2. That would be a 48-47. But I was surprised that it was a split. Regardless, in the group chat, someone dropped he's like, yo, dude, they are on Reddit calling it a robbery. I was like, wait, what? There are people out there that will call it a robbery because I feel if the fight had gone the other way, Strickland by split decision, it would be like, oh, the judges are foul. Everybody would slam it. But because obviously it was a close fight, a lot of people, I would say most people that would give the fight to Strickland, I think they fall in two categories. The first category is like they were casually watching it, maybe being distracted, chatting with their friends around, not paying
Mhm,
attention properly. That's one.
mhm.
Two would be someone who is a big fan of Strickland or has money on Strickland winning the fight. I feel like
Yeah,
that's the only reason. But if you actually sit down and watch the fight, you would clearly see why Dricus won the fight, and it shouldn't even have been a split decision. I feel like it should have been a unanimous decision because, as you said, the fighter pushing the pace, the fighter engaging. You
mhm.
understand? Maybe some questions would be around, oh, the damage, because the damage, Strickland came online and said there was a headbutt in there, which caused a lot of bleeding in his right eye. But regardless of that, you could see that Dracos was the person pushing the pace. In the third and fourth round, you could see that uh, Dracos was like on it, right?
Exactly. The
And
criteria is the
and
criteria.
Strickland slowed down a lot. He did slow down. And again, in MMA, you cannot just stick to your hands and stick to one style and be like, that's your bread and butter. That's where you are going to win the fight. Because if Strickland wins this fight, everybody will say he jabbed his way to the victory again. You understand? Meanwhile,
Exactly.
the other guy is pushing the pace. The other guy is the one that is caused more damage, maybe by headbutt. I don't know, but the other guy is the one that had what 6, 7, 8 takedowns, right? The other guy was the
Exactly,
one that mixed it up.
exactly what I was
So
about to say,
why?
right? He fought a smart
y-
fight, and this is mixed martial arts. He mixed all of the
Yeah.
techniques, right? Striking, grappling, wrestling, who actually demonstrated these skills for mixed martial arts. It was clearly Dricus DuPlessis. Now, to quickly add to this, right? In order to be able to have a very proper, objective opinion about a fight, it is always good to watch it a second time because
Hmm.
at the second time of watching, you are able to pick up things, details that you did not see at the first time of watching. And I can tell you for free that I have seen that fight again this afternoon. So I can tell you authoritatively that I scored round two, three, and four to Dricus, and it was
All right, let's have a look at the scorecard. Okay, here we have Clary, sorry, scoring the fight 48-47 for Dricus. Here we have Eric Colon scoring the fight 48-47 for Dricus, but Sal Diamato was the one that scored 48-47 for Strickland. And let's look at the rounds that he gave Strickland. So the first round was clearly no argument. Strickland took the first round.
exactly.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that myself. And the next one is the second round. The second round I gave it to Duplessis. I agree. Duplessis did a lot of work in there. And then we saw Duplessis in the third round, but here Saldi Amato gave the third round to Strickland, which doesn't make sense to me. It wasn't very close. I feel like Dracus took that round properly. So again, this comes back to what is popular among us or in our group chat when we were watching this fight, you included. The only rounds that Strickland took was the first and fifth round. That's my opinion. Please, if you are in the comment section, if you are watching us live, please feel free to drop in and chime in your opinions with regards to the scorecard. But what do you think about this scorecard? Do you think it should have been a split or do you think it's unanimous?
So I can only talk from my own point of view, right? Like I told you earlier, and I knew I had actually not seen this scorecards before this podcast tonight, right? And if you recollect what I was saying earlier, I told you that the only round I think was quite debatable was the round three, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I see why, Sadio Mato, in real time might, have scored it, to Strickland because it was quite close. And you'd agree that for traditional people in mixed martial arts, anytime there is a championship fight and a round is close, they are more inclined towards scoring it, for the champion. So I can understand, the bias behind that particular scoring system. However, in order to call a spade, in order to call the facts, right? Dricus actually did, win that round. However, it was close.
Yeah. Again, the unanimous opinion here from the African fighters, if in case you're watching, is Strickland. Uh, Israel. Sorry. I'm all over the place. I think my camera went off. But regardless, what I'm trying to say is, Dricus won that fight unanimously. I wouldn't even call it a split decision. All right. We've got Adebayo Osinulu in the group chat.
That's my
In the
boy.
live chat.
Bayo,
Is that
how
is
are
that
you?
Kamal?
No, that's Bayo. He's in Canada.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Bayo, I think you scored it just the way that we did. So 2-3-4 was all DDP. But what do you take what's your take on the president himself of UFC, Dana White, in the
White,
press
yeah.
conference saying he scored it 2-2 going into the fifth round?
So White's opinion is White's opinion, and the most interesting part of his opinion is that his opinion does not count when it comes to the scoring, right? He was watching it as a fan himself, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think apparently he's human and he has his own bias, right? So I think he
Mm-hmm.
probably scored round three to the champion. And he said it himself, right? That he is one of those, traditional, mixed martial arts fans that believe that anytime there is a challenger versus champion situation, right, and it is close,
Mm-hmm.
you should, lean towards the champion because, like he in his own words, he said, in order to beat the champion, you need to be convincing about it. You need to go all out, and convince us that
Mm-hmm.
you are beating the champion. So I think that was what happened with him. He scored round three to uh Strickland. And kudos to him for being, honest in his review. But I
Mm-hmm.
think it's quite, a beat down on a fighter's accomplishment. You being the president and, saying in open that you feel like a champion lost
Mm-hmm.
their fight. It's kind of like taking away from their shine and reducing the credibility of their accomplishment. So that I don't like. But it is what it is. Congratulations to DuPlessis. He is the middleweight champion of the world, whether anybody likes it or not. It is what it
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. My camera started to act up now. But I'm gonna push this to something else, right? So in the octagon during the post-fight octagon interview, we heard this famous line that has been quoted now, well, famous from yesterday, where he said, a while ago, there was a guy that tried to take my shine, but now I
I
took his
expected that.
shine, and now he should come get back his shine. He said, Israel Adesanya, get back to the EFC. Let's settle the score. And last year, there was like one of the most chaotic moments last year was Israel throwing a third in his in Strickland's party. Sorry, in Dricus's party when Dricus beat Whitaker, he came into the octagon and made acted, I would say, rather unprofessional when he was in there. But everybody wanted to see that fight, but that fight got interrupted because Strickland took the title away from Izzy, and then Izzy took a time off. So now tell me, is this something? Is this something that we want to see in UFC 300, or is this something that we want to see in UFC Africa? I feel like we cannot have both, right? If we are a bit patient, we would likely see this fight, I believe, in the Sunbet Arena in Pretoria, South Africa. UFC, whatever number is going to be 303, 304, Israel Adesanya versus Dricus DuPlessis in South Africa. What do you think we should see? Should we wait for UFC 300 or should we wait for later in the year?
Okay, given the facts that align for me, I think that fight we will have to wait for at that fight. So the Dricus DuPlessis that I know will not, have such a quick turnaround. He's that guy
Mm-hmm.
that likes to do proper preparation for his fights, and he's somebody who takes his career very, very seriously, right? So he's not going to want to bulge into the fandom of UFC 300, right? So that being said, Isola Adesanya, right? Definitely, he's highly, highly interested in this matchup. And what a
Mm-hmm.
better time, what better matchup have you ever seen in the history of the UFC that would make for special interest, right? And a special event for UFC Africa. Tell me, has there ever been in the history of the UFC, right? Two Africans fighting, right? High stakes matchup, right? So it's a no-brainer, and Dana himself has actually hinted at it. And of course, we know what's up with South Africa, right? South Africa are the ones to host this. They have the EFC, they have the facilities, they have the giant broadcasters in what's these guys who handle super sports,
Super sports. Mm-hmm.
multi choice, right? Yeah, so multi
Mm-hmm.
choice can be a really fantastic, broadcast partner. So everything aligns. There has been no better time to have UFC Africa, and I put it to you, UFC Africa is happening, later on this year in South Africa, headlining Dricus DuPlessis versus Israel, the last style bender, Adesanya. Mark my words.
Um, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Okay. So, yeah, so I'm going to say this, right? Um, I think we should scrap the the UFC 300. The UFC
Why?
300 would make more financial sense for Dricus. I believe prefer UFC 300. He will make more money with it, right?
Not
But because
necessarily.
at this yes, he's going to, because here's the thing, when you are the champion, right? When you are the champion, oh gosh, I just got I just switched cameras because my last webcam was acting up. All right,
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay. Glad
So
to have you back.
when 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 you are a champion, when you go into a pay-per-view, you would have pay-per-view points. That means that the amount of
Exactly.
pay-per-view that the UFC will sell, you are going to get a big part of it. So you would
Definitely.
get millions for
Mhm.
that fight if you are a champion.
UFC Africa is going to be a
So
pay-per-view event, mind you.
UFC 300, mind you, is if he fights Easy is the
The,
biggest pay-per-view
the
draw right now
marquee,
in the
marquee
UFC
there.
apart from McGregor. So UFC 300, with all the hype going into it and with all the stars they have on it already, and if this has a Dricus versus Adesanya, it's going to cross that 1 million pay-per-view buy. And what that when he knows this, I mean Dricus knows this, and he would probably want this. But if I was Dricus, what are my options? My first option is UFC 300, get the biggest paycheck in my life. Or wait for UFC Africa, which might or might not happen because obviously UFC they work ahead of schedule a lot. So they are probably already speaking to venues that they'll do event in October this year already. So what would you do if you were Dricus? Now, when he was asked about UFC 300 after the fight, he had said that he's going to have to speak to his doctors first to see if he can make April. Because UFC
Exactly.
300 is April 14th. But again, if there is a very, very valid option that UFC Africa would happen, if I was Dricus, me being selfish, I would rather have it happen have um have it happen in Africa, and then I will make that record, that history that I'm talking about, because it's talking about history all the time. Talking about
Mhm.
that history, being the guy headlining, being the guy on the posters, promoting UFC Africa
Africa.
in South Africa. And right now, with the energy that I saw from South Africans online, because our Instagram page now is flooded with South Africans, the energy I'm seeing
TTC.
from these guys, and I heard that over 100 South
Massive.
Africans traveled to Toronto, and the tickets in the arena in Toronto is crazy expensive
Mhm.
for that UFC event. So for them to be able to travel, do you know how many South Africans, my brother, will buy tickets to for Israel versus Easy? It's
Exactly
gonna
what I'm
be
telling you. It's going to be
it's
massive.
gonna be
It's going to be
it's gonna be
massive.
massive. Although the arena I'm talking about, the Sunbet Arena, only takes like 8,000 people, only 8,000 people, and I don't know if this has
Forget
the
about the gates. Forget about the gates. The gate is not where the money lies in for South Africa, right? South Africa
no,
support
but
their
it's only
own.
8,000. I feel like they can sell 20,000. Do you
Hmm.
understand? So it's only
Hmm.
8,000. The arena is not big. That is my only
Hmm.
issue. But, ish. Well, I guess we would just have to wait and see what it's going to
Very
be
well
like.
see. Mhm.
All right. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Here is what is going to happen now. I'm going to go to the comments and then we would move on. So there's bananas and grapes. I don't know if you know this grape person. It says go
Bananas and
easy.
grapes.
Shout out to bananas and grapes. And then we have M Spot Vibes. Say Jibril, where is your scissors? Time to shave your beard. M Spot Vibe,
Oh.
you don't exactly remember how our bet went exactly. It went this way. I said I was very confident that Easy will win, and I was very confident that Dricus will win. If Dricus loses, I'll shave my beard. Well, Dricus
Oh,
won.
that is, yeah, that is true. And I
Yeah,
remember I
and
promised I was
and
going to
you
give you
said
50,
you were going to give me £100 to
100
compensate me for
pounds.
shaving my beard.
Yeah.
so
Dricus,
I guess
DuPlessis,
that's
thank you for saving my money.
well, thank you for saving my beard. That's the amount. I swear, I was thinking about it when they were calling that split decision. I was like, shit, my beard is going. It's a split decision. so yeah, shout out to you guys. And again, special shout out to Christopher Graham. Christopher Graham sent us questions last week, but what we were busy with the African Fighters Awards last week. And well, we have a backlog of questions to go through, so I tried as much as I can to get some. But before we do, ladies and gentlemen, you've been saying that you miss Toby, right? I have Toby for you. Toby is a singer and songwriter that you know. As you know, if you don't know Toby, if it's your first time watching us, Toby is one of the co-hosts here, but then he always has internet connection because he is in Lagos, Nigeria. But he's a singer songwriter in Afrobeat, and today I'm going to give you guys a glimpse of his song. So here is Toby, his musical performance, performing Only Me by his stage name La Doma. Enjoy.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I let you a man. Yeah, 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 yeah. When I was down, nobody left. And then my show, me particular. Not do me nice, not do me judge. I wanna blow, but they play me like a pele. See, I was down, nobody left. And then my show, me particular. Not do me nice, not do me judge. I wanna blow, but they play me like a tate. I said, mommy, mommy, no, they said I'm sorry, sorry. I'm just chasing this money, money. I want take you go foreign, foreign, try foreign. Mommy, mommy, no, they bad, I say, no, they worry. Make you proud and I'll make you happy. I'm just trying to get this money. This is me, only me. I don't see nobody. I'm alone in my dreams. Don't want bad energy. This is me, only me. I don't see nobody. I'm just blowing my trees.
Okay. That's it. That is La Doma Toby Aderemi. Shout out to Toby if you're watching us. If you are not, when you get to this video, we appreciate your music. As we dey go, you give me jaja, you give me jaw, you give me bebe. Everybody like it, jele.
Afrobeat to the world, baby.
Afrobeats to
Afrobeat
the
world.
world. All right. Yes. Still talking about Dricus still knocks DuPlessis, the hottest name in MMA right now. Um, let's talk a bit about Strickland. What is next for Strickland? Because we've seen that there's been a progression in Strickland's career now, right? Strickland came into Toronto like the superstar. If you watched, if you go online and search Dricus DuPlessis and search Sean Strickland, heading in the promo heading into this fight, you will see that Strickland was the guy getting most of the views online. That means that people cared more about Strickland than Dricus. You could tell from the boos that you were hearing in the press conference when they
Exactly.
went to Toronto.
Exactly.
Again, I must also add that Dricus got a lot of cheers. He got a lot of cheers towards the end of in the fifth round, and
Yeah,
that is
different.
testament. That's why I put the thumbnail of this video. I said undeniable because like he has walked the walk and talked the talk, and he is champion. Like his story is literally someone that cut no corners, didn't try to make it easy. There is no privilege there. Beat the right people, fought the right way, won the title, did what he said he was going to do. And for someone like that, I'm talking about Dricus. For someone like that, his mind must be something else, man. His mindset must be something else. Um, Courageous Empire is sending out his shout out to you. Shout out to you, Courageous. And yeah. So I was talking about Sean Strickland, right? Are we going to see Sean Strickland versus Dricus Part 2, or are we going to see Sean Strickland versus Jared Cannonier Part 2? Or are we going to see Sean Strickland versus what? Chimaev? What do you think is next for Strickland? Because right now Strickland is never going to fight in the Apex anymore because he is now a star, and the UFC are in the business of finding
Superstar.
stars. Anybody
Superstar
that
now.
thinks that the UFC are giving people title shots on under merit, they are very, very silly. We've seen it time and time again. The UFC don't care about merit. If they cared about merit, if
Partially.
Luev 18-0 would have gotten title shots since, because look at Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira has won 2 titles since he came into the UFC. After 3 fights, all his other fights are title fights. That is because he's a star and they see it. They see his star shining and they ride with him. They don't care. So if you are a star, they will go with you. If you are not a star, they will not go with you.
Sean
So, but
O'Malley. Case in point.
exactly, exactly. Um, Courageous says Strickland to fight Hamzat next, and he also said, we've got someone with a different opinion. He said he scored 1, 2, and 5 for Strickland. So
In
he's
what
under
world? In what world did you score round
the
two
second round. Oh, come on,
to
man.
Strickland?
Come on.
I
How?
don't understand. Under the influence of what exactly, I would like to know, and I'd like to know what you're on. Yes, for me, round two, even the
I
judges, right, did not score it to Strickland. So
Yeah,
I'd like
I
to
think
know.
the one judge that scored it odd was Salde Mato. He gave the third round to Strickland. He didn't give him the second round.
Mhm.
So yeah, so yeah, he says Chimaev Strickland. Who do you think? What do you think is next for Strickland? Because Strickland is definitely a main eventer now. He's a star now.
So I think either of two people, either of Chimaev or Jared Cannonier, right? Because Jared Cannonier, trust me, he is uh, very, very interested in a title shot. He is highly, highly
Here
interested
is a
in
stat that I'm going to throw out to you guys. Do you know that it has been over a year, getting to 2 years now, the last time that someone successfully defended the UFC middleweight title? Since Izzy lost it to Pereira, Pereira came back to defend the title, but he lost to Izzy. Then
too
Izzy came to
easy.
defend the title against Strickland, then he lost to Strickland. Then Strickland came to defend the title, now he lost to Dricus. Are we seeing a trend? Does that mean that the next person Dricus is going to fight, he's going to have to lose the fight as the champion? We are seeing hot potato right now. They are hot
Hot,
potatoing the
hot,
the
hot potato, right? And okay, yeah,
hot
yeah,
potato in the title around.
that's
Yes, if you're watching in our live chat, please do us a big favor, please. Please hit the like button. We have about 10 to 11 people now watching. Please do hit the like button, please. Thank you. We appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribe, please. We the African fighters. All right, so let's move on. All right. Another South African opened the fight weekend in Hulme. Hulme defeated Zackery Powell in Unified MMA. So, if you probably have the UFC Fight Pass or you follow their YouTube very, very religiously, you would notice that there's this show that Dana White have that is called Looking for a Fight. One of the funniest episodes they do is when they go to the Middle East and Dana White wears the jalabia. you know the
I think
him
he goes
and
with two
he,
guys.
yeah, him and Dean
The
Hardy.
black guy,
Yeah, the hard.
uh,
What's his name?
Dean
Oh,
Thomas, Dean Thomas,
Dean Thomas.
and
Yeah,
Sarah Longo,
and
and Sarah Longo.
yeah.
Yes,
Oh, is it Sarah Longo?
Matsera, right? Yeah,
Matsera,
Matsera. Yeah,
Matsera that looks like him, and they all wear that jalabi. That's really really funny to see. So they did an episode of that in Toronto. So what happens is normally the local city they go to when they have an MMA event, Dana White will go and look for fighters for UFC. So sort of like a mini Dana White contender series that they do when they go to cities. So in Toronto, they did Unified MMA, and Dana was there, and he saw Hulme, who is, if you I call him Hulme. I'm very, very sorry if I botched the name, but Dems here says it's Home. So
yeah, they're nice.
Home, I feel like yours must be better. So Home fought Zach Powell and he won via unanimous decision. Prior to this, Home is the welterweight champion in EFC, which is the biggest promotion out of Africa. Prior to this, Home, his last two fights all ended by submission. So he is actually a finisher. He doesn't just take unanimous decision victories in case that's what you are assuming because of his performance with Zackery Powell. So, but then, here is the thing. I didn't watch the fight. I tried to, but I couldn't. Um, do you think a unanimous decision victory, because we don't know in what nature that he fought the fight, if it was very dominant, do you think a unanimous decision victory is enough to get that UFC contract? Or do you think that the Dricus DuPlessis and the CIT
Impact,
uh,
influence.
influence is going to get Macomb that UFC contract? Because wait, we've seen the Israel Adesanya influence made them give Mateta, who is Blood Diamond, a UFC contract. Mateta came into the UFC and lost 4 fights, and his
I don't
record
like remembering.
his
I
record
don't
pri-
like
his record
remembering.
prior to this, his record prior to
Was three
coming to
and
the
zero.
UFC was not very good. Like not that it was not very good, it was very slim. He hadn't fought enough fights. Do you think
Yeah.
this is enough for Macomb to get into the UFC?
To be honest, right, I don't know if I am biased, but I think it's more than enough. Going into this championship fight, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Dricus is not championship material. Like Dricus has not proven that he can fight a 5 round fight in the UFC." Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, do you know where Dricus is coming from? Do you know about a competition called the EFC? The EFC, in my opinion, is world class. Shout out to South Africa, for putting up, the EFC. It's a world class promotion. Let's not deceive ourselves, and it is the best in Africa. And if you're the best in Africa, you are one of the best in the world. Forgive my bias, right? Now that being said,
Mm-hmm.
Makobe is, the welterweight champion in the EFC, right? And then he is actually beating a lot of world class talent. And that aside, with the attention on Dricus DuPlessis right now and UFC Africa upcoming, right? I foresee a situation in which Hulme is actually going to be on that, UFC Africa card. I'm building that card in my head. Dana White, hit me up. Let's build this card together. It's going to
All
be
right, all
fantastic.
right. I'm actually interested in hearing what you have for this card that you are building in your head. Can I get 3 fights, please? Just tell me 3 fights.
3 fights
In your
that
you
in
let me
UFC
rephrase.
Africa.
In
Okay.
in your UFC Africa first card, UFC Africa debut, give me 3 fights.
Okay. So
They better
main
be good,
event.
though. They better be good, or I will call you out. If you're in comment section, I want to see your 3 fights in UFC Africa, please.
Okay, UFC Africa main event that should be Dricus DuPlessis versus what do you call him, Israel Adesanya, right? Then co-main
Mm-hmm.
event, I like to see someone like say Kamaru Usman fight maybe Chimaev again. Yeah, because I want that fight back. I want that fight back, right? And Chimaev right now, he's been hovering between welterweight and middleweight. So right now, it's clear that he's not going to be given that opportunity to fight for the welterweight championship, right? So
Mhm.
they could incentivize him by saying, okay, rematch Kamaru Usman for a welterweight title shot, right? While you have Leon, the winner, you meet the winner of Leon versus Belal, right? Good. That's a good
Mhm.
co-main event. Now another one would be Themba Gorimbo, right? Our boy Themba. Themba should actually
About Temba said he's never going to fight in South Africa again. So I don't know if he
Ah,
has a choice.
no,
If they try to book him, I don't know if he would have a choice.
I will speak to him. I'll convince him. Dana White is going to tell me to talk to him. So Themba's my boy. Themba will listen to me. So I'll mash up Themba with either of Ian Gary or Vicente Luque, right? I would match up Themba with one of those guys. So it will be a nice one. And maybe David Onana, right? Who should I give David Onana, right? That is to be decided, right? But then I'd like to see David
Well, you've
Onana.
already done three. You've already done three. Okay, so here
Okay,
are some fighters you have not booked for me. Kennedy Nzechukwu, the Nigerian guy. Super Sodiq Yusuf.
Can
You have
Savage.
not booked him for me. We probably need to put one North African there. Adebayo says Alex Pereira recently posted on his IG that he may go one more rodeo in the middleweight. Nah, I think he wouldn't. The thing is, once you don't have to cut weight, you wouldn't want to do it again. That weight cut is not easy. I feel like that weight cut is worth the money that they are getting paid. It's
It's
not.
crazy.
It's not. It's not easy. They almost kill themselves to do that. They dehydrate themselves. Oh boy. Anyway, so let's move on. Let's move on. Some news that spill over from last week to this week. Let's talk about UFC 300. The way the card of the UFC 300 is
Why?
right
Why are
now,
people like this?
a,
Why are people
a
like
lot of
this?
people are saying that the UFC 300 card is
It's
very, very,
underwhelming.
very, very, very underwhelming.
Why?
Sorry, we've got Courageous Empire. He has his UFC Africa fights. DDP, Easy, Usman Whitaker, Sodiq Yusuf, David Onama. Holy shit. Um, Whitaker is
That's
fighting next week or next month, next pay per view. I'm not sure if
we take our that
Whitaker would.
versus Costa.
Yeah, Paulo
Yeah,
Costa.
yeah.
Maybe Whitaker could fight Usman because Whitaker does not have a clear cut. Well, if he fights, he already lost to the champion in Dricus, and he has already lost to the title challenger in Easy. It's not looking good for Whitaker in the middleweight. I don't know what he has to
He,
do to
I think
get
he
a
may want to
title
go
shot
back to
again.
welterweight. He may want to go back to welterweight because you recollect in the early part of his career in the UFC, Whitaker was actually a welterweight.
Yeah. Um. Let's get back on track. Okay. So UFC 300, according to a lot of people, has been rather underwhelming. I'm just trying to pull the UFC card,
The
the fights
UFC
that have been
card, right?
announced now.
Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway, Vali Jag versus Jean Gionan, Jiri Prochazka
Mm-hmm.
versus Alexander Rakic. You have Calvin Keita versus Aljamain Sterling. You have Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage. You have Charles the Bronx Oliveira versus Arman Sarukian. You have Davison Figueredo versus Cody Garbrandt. You have Bobby Green
Oh, that's a good
versus
one.
Jim Miller. Come on, how is this underwhelming? Just because they
Well,
don't
it's
have that
underwhelming because
main
we
event
don't,
yet.
they don't have that main event that screams UFC 300. We want something crazy. You understand? Because the last two times they'll just call on the Brock Lesnar and he comes back. Not that I'm saying they should call it Brock Lesnar, but they should do something close to that. Something that will blow our mind. Maybe bring in it Diaz, or bring in a Conor McGregor, which they've pushed Conor McGregor to the summer. They have not done that marquee fight. Even Dana White knows that if he leaves it like this, it's underwhelming. Hence why he's saying the main event, I'm going to announce it. So,
Yeah.
and I feel like he has been pushing this main event because he's hoping to get Dricus versus Easy or a Strickland versus Easy. He knows that In the UFC, the first person that draws the most money is Conor McGregor. The second person is Israel Adesanya. And last year, 2023, the UFC did not do well when it comes to pay-per-view buys. They did very, very bad business in the sense that all the people in the title picture, none of them were drawing anything. Even Sean O'Malley, according to
All hype.
Aljamain
Artemis
Sterling,
Sterling, yeah.
Aljamain Sterling
It's
said,
all hype.
the pay-per-view points I collected, the money I received is not even worth all this nonsense that they are calling him a draw. So, with that being said, I'll be thinking that maybe Sean O'Malley, maybe and Aljo, maybe they did like a 150 or 200k buys. That's why he probably underlooked it. But it has been an issue for the UFC. Do you know that the last 1 million pay-per-view buys the UFC has done has Conor McGregor in it or
Conor,
Kamaru Usman in it?
yeah.
Kamaru Usman, a lot of
Conor
people
for
don't
real.
know this. When Usman was defending his welterweight title, he was making money for the UFC, hence why Dana White loves him. Kamaru Usman and Masvidal did 1.3 million pay-per-view buys.
Because of
Easy
the bad
has
blood.
still not done a million pay-per-view buys, but all his pay-per-views are like 800k, 700k. So
And do you
he
know why?
is.
Do you know why?
I
Because
know
his
why. I
cards
know
are not
why.
stacked. His cards are not
Because
stacked.
Easy. Yeah, and the thing why Easy is not making a million buys is because in his weight class he's always he's like the dominant A guy. He's the
The
star,
ace hype
and
is
then
the
he's
ace hype.
fighting someone else. But then Usman was smart enough to look at rivalries, right? He was smart enough to overlook Kobe Covington's antics and agree to do business with Kobe twice. He was smart enough to look. Do you think when he called out Masvidal, do you think that he was stupid?
Mm-hmm.
After what happened in
He
Fight
saw the
Island, they
world.
did 1.3 million buys. He was
He
like,
saw
after
the
he
world.
beat Gilbert Burns, he's like, there's this guy with a built-in excuse saying he had a 6 days notice. I want to fight him again, dude. We know what you mean. We know that you could beat him, and well, he did what he did, which was worth the pay-per-view with the knockout that he gave Masvidal. But again, this brings me back to UFC 300 being, I think UFC are being strategic with how they place the main event. Their 1 million pay-per-view buy guy, Conor McGregor, they moved him away from 300 to the summer. So they can stack 300 and do at least two good business this year. In UFC 300, probably sell a million pay-per-views on that, and then certainly sell a million pay-per-view on any card that Conor McGregor is on. So,
And mind you, quick one, just to chip in, right? The main event has to be a title fight because they have already announced, title fights in the mix for 300. So I think it's making people think in a certain direction, like, okay, what title fight, right, is available
mhm,
that you can give us? Sean O'Malley has been pushed to UFC 299. Yeah,
mhm.
so who else is a big draw? So for me, I would suggest somebody like Poitin, Alex Herrera versus what's his name, the current interim champion at
Well, Jamal
heavyweight.
Hill, we don't know if he's okay to
No,
come back in there. By the way,
Aspinall.
Courageous Empire has been calling Sean Sugar Show he's not a draw. He's a put some respect in my name. Yeah, Sugar Show is well, he's still going to have to prove to be a draw. Yeah, well,
But what do you
so
think? What do
far
you think about Poitin versus Tom Aspinall for the interim
I
heavyweight
think that's
champion?
going to do bonkers in numbers. And for my selfish reasons, I'd rather see it in the UK so I can go and see
But I think they might
it.
want to put that on UFC 300.
No, I don't think so. Well,
Think
we're going
about
to talk about Aspinall a bit towards the end of the show. Um, yeah, so I think the UFC 300, we would, I assume, I'm thinking we would hear another the main event that Dana White is promised to tell us next week. I feel it's going to be underwhelming as well. A lot of people are. It's sort of like pro wrestling fans, right? We predict something, and if the prediction doesn't come to reality, we feel like that's bad judgment because now we are predicting Easy versus Dricus in 300, or you are calling Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira, and if none of these happen, and they give us a who is a champion now? they give us a Thomas Pinot versus Cyril Gahn. Oh, that's a good one. But if they give us a Thomas Pinot versus Cyril Gahn,
I will not buy that pay-per-view. I'm sorry. No disrespect to those guys, but no way. Come on. Don't play.
So, all right, let's move ahead. Let's move ahead. Let's touch football a bit, eh?
Oh,
All right,
sorry.
AFCON.
Something wild just occurred to me.
Mm-hmm.
What if, Dana White goes crazy and brings in Ronda Rousey versus Amanda Nunes? What would you do?
Well, I don't think Ronda will fight Nunes because Nunes will murder her, and Ronda wouldn't agree because Ronda is very, very weak when it comes to because she's in the pro wrestling world, and I know how she feels like. She can't even be a good heel in the sense that in wrestling business, if you are a heel and the fans boo you, that means that you are doing a good job as being a heel. But then she came into the WWE, they made her a baby face. After her honeymoon period died off, they started getting tired of her. Then they realized, she's not even all that good, right? And then they started booing her, and then they turned her to a heel, to a bad guy, but they still were booing her, and then she couldn't take it, and then she left. So
Okay.
Ronda Rousey, I feel like, is weak. I think she wouldn't agree to come back. That's the issue. Leon
John
Edwards versus
Jones.
Bilal Muhammad
John
is not a
Jones.
main event.
John Jones versus Brock Lesnar.
No, but John Jones is injured. He's still out.
But we don't know.
But
the
Leon
condition of-
Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad is also underwhelming.
Yeah, but then Leon said he was actually meant to fight at UFC 300.
Yes, but think about it. Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad being the guys that are in the poster. Leon Muhammad Bilal as UFC 300. How many pay-per-views do you think they will buy? They will sell
300 pay-per-views in line with UFC 300.
So I swear, then I get headache now because I swear I don't think we're going to get a positive news out of this. All right, let's jump into AFCON. Let's jump into AFCON. Ladies and gentlemen, the African Cup of Nations is going on. As Africans, we have to talk about it, right? I am Nigerian, from Nigeria. I bleed green because my blood is green because I'm Nigerian like that. My brother Demola is part Nigerian and part South African because he's
Dricus, my boy.
actually,
I have a lot of South African friends. Some of my South African friends are currently watching us right now. So come on, party South African.
I also have another point. My wife is Ghanaian, so my kid is part Ghanaian, and I'm Nigerian. So you can tell that from the AFCON, I'm having a very good time in this house because Ghana is messing up and Nigeria is winning. So if you are non-African, you should know that AFCON is a big deal for us. We absolutely love our countries going head to head. We like to have that bragging right. And my prediction for AFCON is, of course, the Super Eagles of Nigeria are going to win it. What's your prediction?
So I think I have some top 3 favorites, right? So for obvious reasons, obvious bias, Nigeria at number 1, right? But then I think we have quite a balanced team, that can do the job. You have Osimhen up front. You have, really talented guys across the board. But then I think Morocco are a very, very strong team as well, right? I think Morocco are very strong, and I think Senegal might pull it up again. So those are my top 3: Nigeria, Morocco, Senegal.
Yeah, according to the odds, according to the bookmakers, it's Senegal 1, Morocco 2. They've got Ivory Coast in there. They've got Egypt up there as well. Before they even get to Nigeria, all these countries did there. But no wahala, we are going to prove them wrong because Nigeria know they carry last. Temba says his brothers from Senegal will win.
Temba, why are you doing this? Is Zimbabwe
even in the by the way, Zim is not there. And by the way, by the way, I must add that right now, as we are speaking, South Africa and Namibia are playing. I really don't know what the score is. Hey, Alexa, what's the score line between South Africa and Namibia on AFCON?
Today in the Africa Cup of Nations, South Africa lead Namibia 3-0.
3-0.
Did you hear
Wow.
that? South Africa is leading 3-0. Holy shit.
My second team are doing well. We're not
So, what? Yeah, it looks like it's
our boys are playing well.
the Bafana. I don't know what they call what's that? What's the name of those guys? I don't know what they call Namibians. All right. Let's move ahead. I think we just have one to go. Again, this is from Christopher Graham. He says, would Tom Aspinall make himself more of a star and more likely to be given the money fight if he stopped whining on social media? All right, so just so you know, the person that asked this question, his background is he is a British man. So, as a British, I believe it pains him to see Tom Aspinall there on Twitter whining, and I really don't see the fault of Tom Aspinall here. Tom Aspinall is a champion, right? The interim champion, and what is best for his career is for him to have some legends in his fight column, basically, when it's all said and done, you know, because he feels like he can be that guy that would beat John Jones, and I feel like he has a big chance to actually be able to beat John Jones. He's going to be a bad matchup for John Jones, and he wants that fight, but he can't get it. Now he's stuck to fighting a Sirogan that we know that he's going to beat. But again, if John Jones retires after he fights Stipe, because from all the responses we've been getting from John Jones, it's looking like he's actually going to retire after Stipe, because he's sounding like, I've done it all, I've done it again, and I've done it again. And why would a kid like this be disrespecting me or whatever? But in your opinion, do you think that Tom Aspinall is complaining too much?
I don't think he is complaining too much. Like, he has valid reasons, you know, to complain. Come on, you can't be an interim champion. It doesn't make much sense being an interim champion and defending that interim championship. Yes, it has happened before, but then typically what should happen is an interim champion challenges the, you know, defending champion, right? So that being said, a fight with John Jones does more for his legacy than John Jones's legacy. So it's, you know, a big risk, a low reward for John Jones, but then it is a big risk, high reward for Tom Aspinall, and he's pushing for it. He just has to push for it.
All right. Yeah, I don't see the fault of Tom Aspinall. I think he should continue doing what he's doing. I'm sorry if you can hear some noise. My baby is throwing a tantrum. Yeah, so before we go, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you Latoma, aka Toby, again. Now that we have Temba in the live chat, we know that Temba is watching. Temba, here is a song from your boy, Toby Aderemi, aka Ladoma. Ladies and gentlemen, here is a song from Toby. The name of the song is Only Me. Only Me by Toby, aka Ladoma.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I let you a man. Yeah, 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 yeah. When I was down, nobody yelled, and them a show me particular. Not do me nice, not do me judge. I wanna blow, but they play me like a pelle. See, I was down, nobody yelled, and them a show me particular. Not do me nice, not do me judge. I wanna blow, but they play me like a tata.
Play me like a pelle, you give me down, you give me jaja, you give me down. All right, guys, thank you very much for sticking with us. We try to get out of the show before we hit the 1 hour mark. Thank you for the love and support as usual. Please, if you have not hit that like button, please do that for us. We appreciate it. Please, if you have not subscribed before, do it. Thank you very much. I remain Jibril, and here is King Dems Ademola, King Dems podcast. What's up, Ademola? Thank you very much. We see you guys next week, and in the comment section. All right, Demba says, this boy can sing. Then, when is AFCON final? I think AFCON ends in February. Second week of February. Courageous says Toby is on fire. All right, guys. Peace and love. Peace out.